Hello, and welcome to KSP Reddit Reactions. This is our first episode, and we hope you all enjoy. So, I'm here with DC,
What's up?
Ashlyn,
Hey.
and Brody.
Hey, what is up, my dudes?
We are going to be reading some crazy Reddit stories that will leave your jaws on the floor. You guys ready to get started?
Yep.
All right.
Hell yeah.
First story we're going to talk about. So the title is, My wife confessed to me that she wasn't positive my daughter was mine. All right. I, 36 male, have been with my wife, 35 female, for 16 years. We have 3 kids together, 15, 12, and 7. My wife and I actually met because she was originally seeing my older brother. We all went to the same university, and there's always been jokes in the family since she left me, my brother, for me. They weren't serious, and they've only been seeing each other for a short while. There were no hurt feelings. A few weeks after being in a relationship with my wife, we found out she was pregnant with my oldest daughter. In March, my brother passed away. We were all deeply distraught. My wife was acting weird for a few days, and I asked her about it. She started crying and confessed she honestly didn't know if our oldest daughter was mine or my brother's. And he's now dead. I was deeply hurt because I was always confident she was mine. My wife never showed any concern. I told her I wanted a DNA test, so over the course of the next few weeks, we went through that. My daughter turned out to be mine, but the whole process my wife was emotional and nervous and depressed and continuously asked me if my daughter wasn't mine, if I promised to still love her. I feel deeply hurt that she'd been hiding that inside for 15 years, knowing all those years my daughter I love and thrive for may not be mine. I feel betrayed and kept out of the loop. It makes me worry that what else could she have lied about? I can't stop thinking about how big of a secret that is for 15 years, and my partner kept it. It has tarnished the trust I've had for her. I don't want to end our marriage, but I don't know how to trust her again. Advice?
Ew, first of all.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot
Yeah.
As the only female here, I will
in the
say
entire room.
that most men, like in this situation especially, seems like he's just like trying to make it about himself.
Yeah.
Because it really doesn't seem like it was that big of an issue, and like
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, he did admit that there was like no overlap between her being with her brother and her being with him. So like it was possible, especially because he said a few weeks after they got together, she found she was pregnant. It's very possible that, you know, it still could have been her brother, isn't it? Yeah, it sucks, but at the end of the day, like, I don't know, maybe wait a minute.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think that's something to end a marriage over.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
sucks, but is it really?
yeah, I understand the trust thing also. Like, she's worried about, like, the trust that has been broken between them. But also, like, that baby could have well been either one of theirs. So I understand the trust thing, but it's also trust your wife, it was your baby in the end. So just live knowing that it was your baby and it's not your brother's.
Yeah, I felt like, yeah, like it might have been like a bump in the road, but like that bump was cleared, and now you guys can like go forward without like any worries.
Yeah. There's no more doubt in the wife's mind.
Exactly.
I mean, okay, so they did the DNA test, right?
Yeah.
They're brothers. What exactly is that gonna do? Unless they're half
I
brothers.
think it's a little more
It'd be-
advanced
It's
It's
than
more
that.
advanced than that. I was thinking that too.
Like, what if they were identical twins?
Ooh.
But it said older brother, so... But,
That's
think about
still-
that. What if they were identical twins? I know, like, identical twins don't have the same DNA.
older by 1 second.
Older by 1 second.
That's physically impossible.
All right, you guys ready for the next story?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, the next story. Am I the a-hole for overreacting after my wife lied about our baby's gender? I, 32 male, and my wife, 25 female, are expecting our first child. I've reacted in ways I'm now questioning and need an outside perspective. Background. My childhood was tumultuous one. Growing up, I've always craved a strong male figure in my life. I never had that bond with my father and always envisioned having it with my son. My wife was aware of this deep-rooted desire. During her first pregnancy appointments, I was on an essential business trip. These trips, though draining, are critical since I'm the only breadwinner trying to ensure a different life for my child than I had. In my absence, my wife and her adopted mother attended the checkups. Upon my return, she excitedly told me we were having a boy. We invested emotionally and financially, a blue nursery, boy-themed items, even naming him after my late grandfather. However, a chance remark from her mother disclosed we were having a girl. My wife admitted she knew from the beginning but didn't tell me, thinking she was protecting my feelings. I was devastated, feeling the weight of past hurts and fresh betrayals. In my pain, I cleared out the nursery, and in a moment I regret, told her mother she wasn't welcome to any upcoming family events, seeing her as part of the deceit. I acted out of a deep-seated emotion and past trauma. I love my wife and regret my reactions, but I feel lost. Am I the a-hole for how I responded? So I'll tell you guys the verdict after we discuss a little bit. So do you think, was he in the wrong, or was it more his
Okay.
wife and the mother?
So fatherless, completely relate, my guy. Same, bro. But get over it, dude. I mean, so what if you don't know the gender? Nothing's decided right away, and even then, if she lied, best prank ever. Do not.
I'm dead.
It's like, it's under, like, you can still have that, like, deep-rooted connection with your daughter also. It's not just a
Exactly.
son, like, daughter and father, they can also have, like, a really deep emotional connection. It's your child.
Yeah.
You're going to have a deep emotion with your child unless you're a terrible person.
Yeah.
But most likely you're going to have a deep connection with your child.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the way, like, the whole lying was unnecessary because he was going to find out regardless. Like, you can only hide that kind of thing for so long.
Baby comes out, oh, it doesn't have this.
Yeah, like, oh, it's a girl. What? Like, I don't know. But at the same time, I feel like he did kind of blow the whole. I wouldn't call him the asshole, but he definitely like blew the whole thing out of proportion. But I would say the mother and like I guess like the grandmother were the assholes in this situation, but the dad was the drama queen of the situation.
What do you mean it was a girl?
2 words, daddy issues.
I mean, real for starters.
I get that it's like he said it like multiple times, like deep-rooted trauma, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like he's almost blaming it on that at this point. And like
Yeah.
it's understandable, we all have trauma
Yeah.
like over something, but I feel like he's being the drama queen. The verdict on that story was everybody sucks.
Exactly. Yes.
So they
That
said
is so
that the
true.
father sucked because of the way that he like blew it out of proportion, and the mother, the adopted mother and the wife sucked because they hid that from him
Yeah.
for
The adopted mother.
yeah,
I
I
just
don't
said grandmother.
understand.
I
Yeah,
just said grandmother.
yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I don't understand why they needed to lie.
Yeah, that was
Like,
I feel like it was an issue like that the wife felt that she needed to lie in the first place. Like if she was kind of scared of how he'd react,
but,
if
like,
she told him it was a girl,
that's
is kind of
crazy.
scary.
yeah, that's like
that's
Because, like, if she was really that worried about him finding out it was a girl over a boy, that's kind of his problem.
yeah, that's
but-
kind of
Yeah.
his problem. And like, you can only blame your daddy issues. Great song, by the way. You can only blame your daddy issues for so long before you have to like be an adult and like,
yeah.
you know,
And also like, what, you can't change that it's going to be a girl.
exactly.
Like, you can't just pick and choose like, oh, I want this boy.
yeah, like
You can't do that.
You can't like you can say like I want like. Oh, I want to have, you know, a boy and then a girl, but at the end of the day, it's not up to you. It's not even up to the mother.
Yeah, it's up to
The
what happens.
Yeah, what happens? It's up
All
to
right. So hear me out, guys. If you get mad about gender specifically, should you even have children?
That's a great.
See, that's a great question.
See, like, yeah, because I know people, they say, oh yeah, I want to have like a boy, but then they end up having like 3 girls. Are you gonna be mad that you never had a boy?
Yeah, or like the gender reveals where one of them's like so pissed off
Like they
and the
freak
other
out
one's
about
like,
it. It's like, why did you try to have a child in the first place? Like 50-50 odds, okay, but like
yeah, like it's still 50-50, but I don't know. I was gonna say like my now ex-uncle, because my aunt divorced him, he wanted a son so badly that he was willing to keep getting her pregnant until they had a son.
See-
Thankfully,
She got
her third child, his like 5th overall, but like previous marriage, whatever. But like he finally had a son, but he was willing
my
to keep
goodness.
going until he finally had a son.
Like I'm guessing he would have went on having children until he had a son.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
That's
Yeah.
some like King George type shit.
Yeah, it's like actually insane. Like,
Yeah, like that's how all the people had to rule back in like when they like the pharaohs of ancient Egypt. I don't think you don't have to do that now.
Yeah,
you
like,
don't need to
it's-
have a son predecessor.
it's actual insanity.
That is insanity.
It is.
Like-
It's definitely.
Do you think if he was a woman and he had to have all those kids, he would feel the same way?
I doubt it.
I feel like it's always men.
It
Like I
definitely
don't want to
is.
blame it on
They're
men.
just like,
Um,
oh, you can just get pregnant
I
again.
was gonna
It's
say,
fine.
Like,
yeah.
like my mom did want like a boy, then a girl. I mean, but like at the end, she didn't get that, but she kind of like still loved the kids regardless.
I hope so.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
But like, I don't know. She wouldn't like stop at nothing until like she got. I don't know. She wouldn't like go to that extreme. That's just my experience.
Yeah, I don't think you should ever have to go to
Yeah,
that
that's
extreme.
like insane. Like imagine having like you want a son so badly, but then like here we are 9 daughters later.
that's just some bad luck. Like,
I
Yeah.
feel like that also puts a boy in the weird situation. You have 8
Exact-
sisters.
Yeah, and
You're
also,
setting that boy up to be gay.
and I'm weak. Oh, sorry. But and also like what was I gonna? Also like, are you waiting in between pregnancies, or like the second she goes out the house? Like, all right, you're home. Great, we're going again.
Yeah, actually, my roommate, his brother and him are Irish twins, which means they were born 9 months apart from each other. Like exactly
Yeah.
9 months apart. That's called Irish twins. So they had, I'm not disclosing their names, but like they had the older son, and then they had my roommate 9 months later.
Wow.
So yeah,
That
they're
happens
called
a lot.
Irish
I
twins.
wanna
Do you have anything else to say about that story?
Okay, so what have we learned, guys? People are crazy.
Yes. This next story will reinforce that very much so. Just a little spoiler for you guys. So, final story. Am I the a-hole for yelling at my wife after she blew up my phone with calls because of a fire?
okay, Randy.
Throwaway because of some of this made the local news and I don't want it connecting back to me. I work in a place where we are not allowed to have personal electronics on us at all. No phones, no smartwatches, no pagers. I've been working here for about 6 months, so my wife knows this and understands that she cannot try and contact me by my cell at work. Phones are dropped off in lockers, and I typically leave mine on Do Not Disturb. Before this incident, my phone had never gone off in the locker before. Recently, there was a pretty big fire at my secondary workplace that I do work at occasionally, but that day I was working at the main building. Local news covered the fire before I found out about it because, again, no electronics, plus the work we do isolates us a bit, so news travels pretty slow. There were a few casualties and a lot of seriously injured folk. My wife had been watching the news from home and started freaking out, I guess, so she called me 20 freaking times, which, and I don't know how this is possible, overrode my Do Not Disturb and my phone was ringing for a while in my locker. In the middle of my shift, I got called into my manager's office and was chewed out and written up for my phone making so much noise. They told me to go take care of it and whatever was making my phone go off before I went back to work. I won't lie, when I saw those 20 missed calls from my wife, I was seriously pissed off. Like I said, she knows not to try and contact me directly, and citation hurts my chances of getting a raise or a promotion. I called her back and she was sobbing and asking if I was okay. Of course I was, and asked what the F was wrong with her for calling me so many times. She was still crying and started talking about the fire. After that, I started half yelling at her for all the reasons it was dumb of her to call me. When I got home, she was super upset with me. I apologized for yelling, but she refused to talk. She's been very chilly the past few days and sleeping in our daughter's room. I know it is not the best decision to yell at her, but I still think my anger was justified. 1, she knows I don't work in the secondary work site very often. 2, she knows I can't be contacted directly, and she could have just called the office. 3, 20 calls is absolutely insane. Am I the a-hole?
Yes.
I'd
Absolutely.
say yes.
So I don't even have to tell you guys the verdict. The verdict was
the
a-hole.
Okay, yeah. That was...
First of all, why is he working there? This sounds very...
Very isolating.
Yeah.
Like he said. All right. So, yeah. I think, yeah, it sounds very isolating. But, like, also, people will work there because money.
Yeah, money.
But, like, that's the thing. We don't know the pay, so we can't really comment on why he's staying there.
That is right.
$5.
But, like,
I would
$5 an hour.
I would say from the sounds of it, this sounds like a factory job. Just like, oh, I isolated news travel is slow. I can't have any personal electronics like on the floor. This sounds like a factory or like industrial job.
Or even,
Yeah.
like, it could be, like, a science thing also. Because, like, if they can't have anything on them, they might be something specifically. But also, like, I feel like if I see 20 calls from somebody that I'm close with, like obviously I'm not married, but like if I see 20 calls from my mom or my dad or my sister, I'm going to think somebody died.
Yeah.
Which she did,
Or
is the
they were
thing.
in like a major like accident or something. And I'd start freaking out, not on them because they called me, but just being in the situation because I'm worried about them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, you shouldn't have called me. This hurts my promotion chances.
Dude, like, you could easily like say, oh, like my wife was just like she saw the news about the fire. She was incredibly worried. Like she was just checking up. Like it's never that serious.
Yeah.
I mean, that's also the thing. Why are you pissed about someone being worried about you?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Why?
It's like, do you have trust issues?
I know, for real. Like, I don't know.
And maybe she knew all those things, like how he can't have his phone and stuff, but like in a moment of crisis, when you think that your loved one is dead, you're not going to
You're not
care
thinking
about those
rationally.
Yeah,
things.
like you're not gonna care about like the rules or like protocol. That kind of stuff just goes out the window.
I can't believe you didn't know where I was this entire time. I'm so angry at you.
Yeah. That's pretty much what he was saying. And also, I actually, when I was reading this, there is something he says, there was a pretty big fire at my secondary work location that I work at occasionally. And then in number one, he said, she knows I don't work in the secondary location very often. Occasionally is still times that he could be working there.
Yeah.
And this fire could have happened any day. He could have easily been dead.
Exactly.
Like, or seriously injured also in that scenario. Granted, they probably would have contacted the wife at some point.
Yeah.
But, like, she's seeing the news. I'm guessing the news is more live than what the business is going to get back to her. So I would be hysterically calling if I saw, like, if the bus barn in where my dad works at started burning down, I'd start calling my dad multiple times, or, like, I'd probably call my dad a lot first, and then if he doesn't pick up after a certain while, start to call the business. That's the only, I'm not trying to play devil's advocate. That's the only way I see, like, her mistake. Like, call the office eventually.
Yeah.
Like, if he doesn't answer after, like, I don't know, like 10 or 15, then call the office.
Yeah.
But at that point, like, you're, like you said, you don't think rationally in that
Yeah,
scenario.
you don't really think rationally in that scenario. You just kind of, your senses just go like overboard, and you just care.
Yeah. Because you care about that person.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in conclusion, that's an easy one.
That's
The-
that's the easiest one of the day.
What I'm getting from this episode was that the husbands are trash.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really realize that. We
I-
only really had one, like, trash, or kind of trash, like, wife in this scenario.
Yeah.
And that was the second story.
Yeah,
Where
with-
everybody sucked.
Yeah, everybody sucked, but I'm like, yeah, I don't know. The husbands were kind of just like not it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's kind of wrap it up. Who would you say is I have my worst one. Who do you say is the worst one out of all these?
Like the worst story or the worst
Yeah,
person?
let's go with you, Ashlyn, first. Who do you think was the worst, like, the worst story overall? Like, who was the biggest a-hole in this scenario out of these three
Okay,
stories?
I'm going to say the wildest story was the first one, because, like, the lying about the gender, like, that's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But
That was
the
the
last
second one.
one was, what was
Yeah.
the first one?
The first one was, wow, I can't even remember. That's sad. The wife confessed to me that my daughter, she wasn't positive the daughter was mine.
Oh yeah.
Well, that one was weird too. But the last one, he was the worst out of all of them.
Yeah.
Like marriage ending type stuff.
Yeah. Brody, what do you think?
I think, well, yeah, the first one, probably the weirdest. I'd say the biggest asshole is probably the third.
Okay.
And, okay, pretty much what I think, he's a sociopath.
That's fair. Yeah. He's very, like, it's funny. He's more worried about his work and getting a promotion than his wife being worried about him.
Yeah.
I mean, And we
It's
never really talked about the end of this. He yelled at his wife, and he didn't even consider why she might be mad at him.
Yeah, he's like, I apologize for yelling because I was angry. But then, like, take the hint. You're pretty much almost divorced at this point. She's sleeping in your daughter's room.
Yeah.
With your daughter. It's not weird if you know the scenario, but like take the hint, my guy.
Yeah,
it's like you guys are divorced without technically being divorced yet.
Yeah, no, for real.
So who do you think, DC?
I honestly would say I think it's unanimous. The last guy was the big but I will say the craziest one would probably, I don't know. The first two were both crazy, but I'd probably have to say I'd say the second one.
All right, yeah. I still say like the craziest one just being like the biggest a-hole, third guy.
Yeah.
By far, that's consensus for all of us. But I think the other two stories were just weird because, like, one, why do you lie about the gender?
Yeah.
First of all, I would probably say the first one is the craziest because I don't like when. Why were you dating the older brother then go to the younger brother?
Like, not even like waiting, just like straight on.
It's like, older brother? Nah, I didn't like you. Let's see if your younger brother is better. Like, that's just crazy in my opinion.
That is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Like, I guess, like, again, there were no hard feelings, which is great, but at the same time, like,
yeah.
homegirl, you really bounced.
You almost think of that as the rebound, but like they ended up getting married. So
and
I guess
what was it, 3 kids, 4 kids?
3 kids.
Yeah.
15, 12, and 7.
Yes.
And then the 15-year-old was the one in question.
Yeah.
But it all ended out okay for them. But like
Kind of.
Kind of, yeah. I don't know if he's gonna rebound from the trust issues, I guess. Yeah, trust issues, air quotes. Put those air quotes in there.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys all for tuning into this episode, and I hope you enjoyed our crazy reactions and these crazy stories. Stay classy,
Crazy.
Cedar Rapids.